All right, welcome back to your photosynthesis note packet. Before you say anything to the proctor about how we already did this page, yes, I know, we already did this page. We're going to go over it again. You know how I like to do that. Make sure it sticks in your brain. So, the light reactions, or what we call the light-dependent reactions of photosynthesis. Remember, these are taking place in the thylakoid membrane. We have two reaction centers, photosystem 2, photosystem 1. Of course, photosystem 2, very confusingly, comes before photosystem 1. The purpose of photosystem 2 is to make ATP. The purpose of photosystem 1 is to make NADPH. Those are your two high energy products of the light reactions that are going to be used in the Calvin cycle, or what we call the light independent reactions. So remember, the reaction center, that the photosystems are full of pigments and enzymes and electron acceptors and proteins. So the pigments are designed to absorb as many wavelengths of light as it possibly can. Of course, that's energy. And it passes that energy to electrons that are in a reaction center. And those electrons, as we've talked about before, will jump to a higher energy state because now they have all of that energy that was given to them from sunlight. When the reaction center in photosystem 2 loses the electrons from its reaction center, it's not happy about that. In order to make it happy again, it has to replace those electrons. And it replaces those electrons from water. So H2O, that means that you have two H's and one O. You guys should all know this. This is basic. Remember the hydrogens. Hydrogen is made of a proton and an electron, which means you have two protons and two electrons that are splitting apart, and then you have an oxygen left over. You take that oxygen with another oxygen from water, and you have your waste product. That's how we get our breathable oxygen every time water is split. We're going to talk about the protons in a couple minutes, but they will be used in chemiosmosis, and then eventually they will attach themselves to NADP and will be put on carbon in the second step of the process. So you've got your electron acceptor at the higher energy state. The electrons begin to fall through the electron transport chain. As they fall, they give their energy to pumps. Pumps are going to move protons from the outside of the membrane in, and then those protons will diffuse through ATP synthase in the process of chemiosmosis to make ATP. Once the electrons reach the end of the electron transport chain, when they've given up all their energy, they're going to go in to replace the electrons that are being charged in photosystem 1. So the exact same thing is happening in photosystem 1. It's taking in light, it's capturing those photons or those wavelengths of color. When it captures them, it passes them to electrons. Electrons jump. They go to a higher energy state. Again, just like with photosystem 2, photosystem 1, when it loses electrons, it does not like that. It wants to replace them. It replaces them with the electrons from the electron transport chain. And then the electrons that have jumped and are now full of energy are not going to go through an electron transport chain the second time around. We're just going to take those high energy electrons and it's going to get picked up by NADP+. You're also going to be picking up proton, which you're getting from ATP synthase as it comes through, and it's going to make NADPH, which is just like those cargo trucks that we talked about in respiration. Instead of NADP and FAD, we have NADP, and when that is reduced by picking up electrons, it becomes NADPH. So now these are the energy molecules that are going to be used in the second step. Again, this is just a simpler picture of everything that I just explained, light going into the photosystem. Again, this is PS2 comes first, PS1 comes second. Oxygen is released literally in that first step of of photosynthesis. Inside the thylakoid, we call that the lumen. Outside the thylakoid membrane is the stroma. Protons are pumped from the stroma into the lumen, so you have a higher concentration of protons building up inside here, which means it's going to diffuse this way through the ATP synthase, and that is going to cause the ATP to spin and force ADP with P, force them together, making ATP. Now, both of these molecules here, NADPH and ATP, are going to go on to the Calvin cycle. Now, water in particular, every part of water as it's being split has somewhere that it's going to go, okay? The protons and electrons are needed for the process of photosynthesis. Now, when water is split, that is a process called photolysis, okay? Lysis, you should know, we've already discussed that word several times this year. Lysis means to, I hope you guys all just yelled out split or break. Good job. Okay, and then photo refers to light, which is, so photolysis is using light to split. What are we splitting? Water. And we're splitting water into its three individual parts: proton, electron, and oxygen. The protons are going to be used in the proton pump and chemiosmosis, and will eventually be picked up by NADP. The electrons, as we've already talked about, the electrons are used for energy. They replace electrons that are being lost from photosystem 2 and photosystem 1. And then what do you have left? You have one oxygen. You combine that with another oxygen to make O2, which is a very stable molecule. It's also the molecule that we breathe. That, of course, is not needed by the plant, so it's going to be released as waste. Chemiosmosis, again, this is a review. Chemiosmosis in photosynthesis is exactly the same as it is in respiration, okay? There has to be a concentration gradient of protons across the membrane. So in this case, there's going to be a higher concentration in the lumen and a lower concentration in the stroma. Okay, that's really important because if you don't have that concentration gradient of protons, the protons will not diffuse through the ATP synthase. If the protons do not diffuse through ATP synthase, then the ATP synthase does not work and you don't get ATP. So remember, as the protons move through the ATP synthase, we talked about that it's similar to a water wheel, okay? The ATP synthase is the wheel, the proton is the water. As the proton diffuses through the ATP synthase spins, generates energy, and forces ADP together with a phosphate group. And again, that process of adding a phosphate to anything is called phosphorylation. Now we've got ATP and NADPH. We're going to use the energy from ATP and NADPH to make our organic molecules. Okay, the process is called fixation. What are we fixing? Well, like by fixing, what does that mean? Fixing means you're putting something back together, right? Okay, so in this case, what are we fixing? We are putting hydrogen onto non-organic carbon. So remember when we talked about glucose, C6H12O6, and when that's being broken down in the process of respiration, well, what are we doing? We're taking electrons out of glucose. And what are those electrons attached to? These H's. That's how we transfer these electrons. That's how we take them out. We take the H off of C. Well, now it's the exact opposite, okay? We're putting the energy into this molecule by putting the H onto the C to make an organic molecule, okay? So it's using the energy from ATP and NADPH that were just made in the light reactions. It's going to use that to put an H onto inorganic carbon, which is carbon dioxide. So this is why carbon dioxide is needed during the second step, what we call the light independent reactions, or the Calvin, more accurately, we're just going to call it the Calvin cycle of photosynthesis. Now, we talked about this before. During, like when you took middle school life science, you are taught, you learn that photosynthesis makes glucose, okay? That is, again, an oversimplified explanation, because photosynthesis does not directly make glucose, okay? It directly makes something called pGal, also called G3P. You don't need to know the, the long scientific term for it. Just know it as pGal. That's how I'm going to refer to it. pGal is a 3-carbon molecule. It's a 3-carbon molecule that has H's and O's attached to it, which makes it organic. Now, what can pGal make? What kind of organic molecules can pGal make? pGal can be made into any organic molecule. Carbohydrate, lipid, protein, nucleic acid, it does not matter. pGal can do it all, okay? Now, most of that is going to be made into glucose, which is why when we look at the balanced formula of photosynthesis, when we look at the chemical reaction formula, our end result is glucose, because that's where most of it is going to go, okay? And that's the way it balances out. But remember that the main thing here is that directly photosynthesis makes pGal, okay, and not glucose. So here is the process. Just with the Krebs cycle, the Calvin cycle is a cycle because something is made and then reused, okay? You have step 1, carbon dioxide is coming into the cycle, okay? Carbon dioxide has 1 carbon, 2 oxygens. So you've got a carbon here, right? Throughout the process, you are going to make and then reuse something called RUBP, which is something like ribulose, it's called ribulose bisphosphate. You don't have to know that. Call it RUBP, okay? So this is a 1-carbon molecule here for carbon dioxide. It's a 5-carbon molecule here for RUBP. The first step is they combine, just like with respiration, okay? When the acetyl-CoA combined with the oxaloacetic acid, in this case it's carbon dioxide combining with RUBP, and it immediately splits into 2 molecules of PGA. Oh, Tiger's mad at the cat. So you have there's 2 3-carbon molecules. After carbon dioxide and RUBP are put together, they immediately split into 2 separate 3-carbon molecules, okay? Then you have ATP being used along with the NADPH to take H's and put them onto the carbons. Once you do that, instead of PGA, you have those high energy pGal molecules. Now, the big thing here is with these pGal, most of the pGal stays in the cycle, okay? So if you notice, you have 2 molecules of pGal here. Each one of those molecules of pGal is, you have 2 3-carbon molecules, which means you have 6 carbons altogether, okay? Note how many carbons you need for RUBP. You still need 5, which means for every turn of the cycle, you're really only releasing 1 carbon molecule, okay? It's a carbohydrate. It's CH2O. How many times does the cycle happen? 6 times. every 3 turns, a P-gal is released. So it goes through the cycle once, you get this. It goes through cycle twice, you get that, goes through the cycle 3 times, and then once you get 3 times, then you have 1 P-gal every 3 turns. Now, in order to make a glucose, you need 6 carbons. So in order to make a glucose molecule from the P-gal, you need 6 turns of the cycle, okay? A carbon dioxide comes in, you get basically a basic organic molecule out. Most of the carbon is going to be recycled back into RUBP. It's not a very efficient process, but it gets the job done, okay? So, again, CO2 combines with RUBP, just like with respiration. You get a 1 carbon molecule combined with a 5 carbon molecule. Those two immediately split into 3 carbon molecules, PGA. Then you're going to use your ATP and NADPH. So remember this H here, okay? That's what we're putting on the PGA, because now those hydrogens have high energy electrons. We use the energy from ATP and from NADPH with the H. We put the H's on PGA, and that makes P-gal. So every cycle of the Calvin cycle is going to make 2 full P-gal molecules. But the majority of that has to be recycled back into RUBP. So only a very small amount is actually coming out that is going to be able to be used by the rest of the plant, okay? 3 cycles will give you 3 cycles will give you 1 P-gal molecule. 6 cycles will give you 2 P-gals, which can be used to make 1 glucose. And that is why you need 6 carbon dioxides to make glucose, okay? Because this Calvin cycle has to go through 6 times, all right? So we will, of course, review all of this again next class. But next class, you have your, sorry, being distracted by the dog. So next class, remember that you have your lab summary on the chromatography lab. So if you have any time left in class now, you should be working on those questions, making sure that your entire packet is filled out so that you can use it on your lab summary. And then we'll go back and review the Calvin cycle and finish up the last couple pages of your note packet. And then your test on this unit is February 13th, and all of that is on Schoology, so no excuses that you didn't know anything. But again, I will be back on Monday, so any questions that you have about any of this, please see me either at Flex on Monday or after school. And I hope you guys have a great weekend.